It's the real news. I'm Aaron Mate. This is part two with Jawanza Malone. He is executive director of the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization and a member of the Obama Library Southside CBA Coalition. And we're talking about his involvement in the grassroots fight that's been going on for several years now in Chicago's South Side, demanding that President Obama, in building his new Obama Center there, his plans to build a new Obama Center there, sign a community benefits agreement, one that would protect low-income residents from rent increases and also be a curb on gentrification. So, Jawanza, I want to go back to more of Obama's comments from a recent public event that he held, where he talked about his reasons for rejecting a CBA.
So you can't have one without the other. You can't say we want more jobs, more businesses, more opportunity for our kids, but otherwise we want everything to stay exactly the same. It just doesn't work that way. But what we can do is make sure that we're working with organizations and institutions in the community to preserve affordable housing, to make sure that it is residents that are benefiting. Those are the kinds of plans, activities, foresight that we have to have in order to get that perfect balance, revitalizing and renewing the community, but also making sure that people who are already living there are benefiting from it.
That's former President Barack Obama speaking at a recent public event in Chicago about his plans to build his center in the South Side. So, Jawanza, if you could respond to that, two things there. First, Obama saying that opponents of his center can't be stuck in the past, and that if community wants development, wants opportunity, they have to embrace change and an opportunity like this one, which will bring jobs and money into the community. And also, he also says there that he is working with community organizations. Has that been the case?
So, Aaron, let me say first off, we again don't oppose the presidential center, right? But there's a term that we use here that I know some of your viewers around the country and other parts of the world may be familiar with, and that's development without displacement. We recognize, right, that the Woodlawn community, as well as the South Shore community and large swaths of the South Side in general, have been without investment. In fact, there's been intentional disinvestment and marginalization of these communities. So we aren't fighting against development. We aren't fighting against increased interest and capital coming into these communities. What we are vehemently opposing is displacement and the notion that in order to make a community better, you have to push poor people out of that community. We feel that that is outrageous and is a complete insult to low-income and working families across the world. When we look at the vacant lots where nothing is happening, particularly in the Woodlawn community, East Woodlawn community, the city of Chicago owns a large portion of that land. And so historically, what the city of Chicago has done on vacant lots that they've owned, particularly in that part of town, is that they've placed market rate housing and or luxury housing on those lots. That doesn't benefit the community who's already there. Just blocks away from where the presidential center is going, there's been a rehab development taking place. And in some of those units, two-bedroom apartment or two-bedroom apartment, the rent is starting at $1,400 a month. Now, the median income in that area does not support paying $1,400 a month for a two-bedroom apartment. And so our question is, if these are the type of developments, housing developments that are coming online, then it's obvious what the plan is. And we were able to recently stop a property owner from illegally raising rent on subsidized tenants in development across the street from Jackson Park And we had to get the city involved. If we had not intervened, you would have dozens of people who were pushed out. Unfortunately, there still were people, once they received the notice of the rent increase, who began to pack their things and find someplace else that was affordable for them. But for the most part, we were able to hold that off for the people who, sought our support and assistance. And so the reality is, if there are not clear protections that's codified into law, we're going to see just a mass displacement take place in these communities.
So, Jawanza, this strikes me as a very unique fight against gentrification because it's hard enough for community residents to organize under normal circumstances because activism is challenging. But now you're doing it against someone who is beloved in the African American community and is one of the most influential people in the entire world. So I'm wondering, there are residents who have voiced support for the Obama Center in the South Side, and I'm wondering just what sort of challenges you've come up against while organizing over these past few years. On top of the fact, by the way, that this story has not gotten very much national attention, perhaps because of the general stature that Obama has amongst political and media elites. Well,
we're unfortunately very familiar with that media blackout in the national market. What I'll say is that it's a unique phenomenon here where the former president has really placed himself front and center to take the heat on this project. Again, the University of Chicago wrote the bid, right? And within a year of it being announced that they won the bid and that the presidential center was going to go on the south side, blocks away from the university's campus, they announced they were building a brand new conference center, blocks away from where the center is going. A few months after that, they announced that they were building a brand new hotel, again, blocks away from where the presidential center is going. So, in our opinion, the University of Chicago wrote the bid with their bottom line in mind. They're attempting to leverage the legacy of the first Black president of the United States to increase their endowment, to bring in new revenue streams. And the city of Chicago is complicit. Right? They are actively involved in gentrifying and displacing low-income and working families from large parts of the city of Chicago. In fact, a study came out recently that Chicago has, again, lost population. And the majority of the people who have been pushed out of the city of Chicago are low-income and working families. And so while the former president is front and center, is his name that's on the building, is his memorabilia that will be inside these buildings, it's not just the former president. It's the University of Chicago that we have a long track record of doing battle with to preserve the integrity of the South Side, as well as the city of Chicago. And I don't think anybody's a stranger to the catastrophe that Mayor Rahm Emanuel has been to particularly Black residents in the city of Chicago. So that's really who we're up against here. So let me go to one more clip of Obama from that public event where he talked about the impact of gentrification.
It is not my experience during that time that the big problem on the South Side has been too much development, too much economic activity, too many people being displaced because all these folks from Lincoln Park are all pouring into the South Side. That's not what's happened. We've got such a long way to go in terms of economic development before you're even going to start seeing the prospect of significant gentrification. It's Malia's kids might have to worry about that. Right now, what we got to worry about is broken curbs and trash and boarded up buildings, and that's what we really need to work on.
That was Barack Obama. So, Jawanza, that was the part of his remarks that you mentioned in part one of this interview. We talked about Obama saying that maybe his daughter Malia might have to worry about gentrification and her children. So, as we wrap, what is happening now? You've just gotten what I thought was a pretty important or significant endorsement from Chicago's own Chance the Rapper, who Obama has said is one of his favorite rappers. And in a tweet, Chance came out and said that while he supports the Obama Center, that Obama should sign a community benefits agreement, showing that maybe that this issue is not going away and it's getting some visibility. So where does the struggle go from here?
Sure. No, this issue is not going anywhere at all. We can't afford to. And we greatly appreciate Chance the Rapper weighing in on this issue. He's demonstrated his love and interest for everyday people in the city of Chicago and not being afraid to take our elected officials to task for, frankly, the job that they refuse to do. And so we are heartened by his tweet. We would love to see him continue to engage in this dialogue. We are moving forward. We are demanding that the city council codify protections for the residents of the city. I think it's a travesty that our elected officials do not do more to recognize the needs of their constituents. We have two aldermen in particular situated in this part of town. Obviously, it's going to impact the entire South Side and the city, but you have two wards that will be directly impacted by this development. And all the evidence and indication from independent researchers to historical record point to the fact that people will be pushed out of this neighborhood by this development coming in. When you look at large-scale development across the country, you see displacement as a byproduct of that. So it's really incumbent on them to move forward. And so we're going to continue to push our elected officials to do the right thing on this. There has to be protections for people that are codified into law.
Jawanza Malone, Executive Director of the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization and a member of the Obama Library Southside Community Benefits Agreement Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on The Real News.